This we are here with creepypasta with everything adventure Jared, and I am here with Princess Celestia and Pinkie Pie, and we will be reading
Yes.
creepypasta.
And we have a voice changer on, so that's why it kind of sounds a weird robot-y. Okay?
Yeah.
So, see you guys in the video.
Here came three spaced out knocks on the wooden door marked 13 of Gerard's apartment. He was just brushing his teeth to prepare for his first night's sleep in the newly rented out home. Mildly puzzled, Gerard ambled towards the door and opened it. Greeting him at the door with its legs kicked outward in front of it sitting down was a ventriloquist dummy. A shiny white clown with orange tufts of hair on either side of his head next to a glossy bald spot running down the middle. It had on a pastel red shirt with yellow outlines and pure white khaki shorts strapped with dark blue suspenders up to its wimpy shoulders. Hesitantly, Gerard knelt down and picked the dummy up under its arms like a child. The face of the kitchen table was practically barren, so he propped him up on top of it. For a moment, he had his hands around his hips and stared blankly at the doll until his eyes perused over something noticeably different jutting out from its mouth. He leaned in close and pulled out a small note card, frightfully half thinking the mouth might slam down on his fingers and keep the ones it managed to nab. The card written eloquently over the thin blue lines read, "Dear new tenant of apartment room number 13. You're a very lucky man living in a very unlucky room. Because of that, I'd like to help you out a tidbit. Wherever you moved from, this place can get pretty drab from time to time, so meet Norman, the clown ventriloquist dummy. Despite of his title as dummy, I wouldn't consider him as such if I were you. He's quite a sensitive guy. May he make your stay in your new home interesting. With best intentions, a friend watching from afar." Gerard's mild puzzlement only grew to stupid confusion now. He flicked the note into the garbage bin like an afterthought and left Norman on the kitchen table. He decidedly had to redo brushing his teeth all over again, since whoever knocked on his door and left him Norman had stopped him right in the midst of scrubbing his tongue. He was brushing the back of his molars when suddenly, the door to the bathroom slammed shut with an ice-cold chill of wind cutting right into him. With no forethought, he went for the knob, but just as his fingers were about to touch it, it turned all the way around clockwise from the other side of the door. "Who's out there?" he hollered. "Open this door. Get out of my apartment." The doorknob began shaking violently up and down. He threw his shoulder against it once, twice, 3 times before landing hard on the bathroom floor, his back hitting the bathtub's outer wall. The wind had been knocked out of him, leaving him to cough, wheeze even. He wasn't a football player or a bodybuilder or even a reasonably fit young guy. He was Gerard Coons, 20-year-old stockboy at your local Family Dollar in town. And somebody must have been having a grand old time scaring the daylights out of him. Silence reigned again as the doorknob stopped shaking. Then very, very slowly it turned counterclockwise back to its neutral position. He cleared his throat hoarsely. "Hello." Nothing. Not even so much as a muffled footfall on the other side. Then there was creaking, cracking, and snapping wood. His eyes widened in fear at the sight of the middle of the door pressing inward slowly. Like respiration, it was like it was breathing in and out, a rising wooden chest full of terrible life it shouldn't have at all. Gerard sat completely frozen against the tub. It seemed to go on forever. That noise, now sounding like it had its specific own path and pattern. Whoever was outside was etching something, leaving him another note to read. A friend watching from afar. He shuddered at that thought, every hair on his body stood straight out and up. The knob turned clockwise once more, creaking the bathroom door open just a peek, enough for Gerard to see outside when he leaned slightly, cautiously to the right. There was nothing there. Thankfully, Norman the freaky fucking clown dummy wasn't sitting there flat on his ass with a glossy grin on his face either. But he was right. Somebody did carve a note into the door's thin brown wood. Everything's eventual, Gerard. What the hell did that even mean? He rightfully assumed whoever did it was still in the apartment, as he hadn't heard the front door open or close. He pulled a fiberware serrated edge kitchen knife from the countertop, and turned to see something that practically forced his fingers open to drop it soundlessly to the rug. Norman the clown dummy was in the exact same place Gerard had left him, bottom right side of the kitchen table, sitting up with his legs dangling off the edge. The problem was that Norman's left plastic, white-gloved hand was covered in sawdust. And as much as Gerard immediately denied the thought in his head, he found it nearly impossible out of fear to inch closer to the doll who just sat idly patiently for him to get a closer look at the sawdust and peeled off paint on that hand. Like the note that came with it, Gerard threw the doll into the garbage, this time taking the bag out, tying it and adding it to the dank, putrid heap of trash in the dumpster behind the apartment building. How Gerard still managed to sleep like a corpse after what had just happened was beyond him. He decided that the words scratched into the bathroom door making his stomach do the hokey pokey and turn itself around every time he saw them was a problem he would deal with immediately and efficiently before going to bed. First, he etched the kitchen knife against his name, scraping off the surrounding wood in a square formation with hollow scratching sounds, but before removing the rest of those three little words, that queer trinity that made him feel so suddenly sick, he read them aloud in a beaten, half-hearted voice. Everything is eventual. In an instant it felt like the icy chill of wind that hit him as the bathroom door slammed shut on him earlier had just come back to play again. But it was really just goosebumps crawling up the center of his back before reaching his neck and making him squirm sheepishly. He chipped the rest of the space around the letters with a nervous haste and got into bed. His heart a rattling tambourine, he jolted up in bed on his hands at the small bang against his bedroom window. The shutters were closed over the dark of the night. Gerard swung his feet off the bed flat onto the floor and stood, not once taking a single wide eye away from the window. The jarring sound that had cut right through dreams of foggy white haze was something very easily discernible for anybody. It was the sound of finger knuckles knocking, asking without words in a universal language to be let inside. Another, much louder bang on the window, which shook it and the blinds shielding him from whatever was outside, not asking to be let in, but demanding it. He was frozen again, eyes even wider than before, his right hand rising shakily as he considered pulling the drawstring of his bedside lamp. Bam 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 bam. A flurry of hammers struck the glass and Gerard sprinted out of his bedroom, sliding and nearly falling over before reaching the front door. The number 13 on it was only seen for a brief blurred second, but seeing it made something snap inside of him. Two things became apparent then. Apartment 13 sat on the second floor of the entire building, 2 stories upward from the street. His bedroom window peered down at the alleyway behind the building, where he dumped that damned clown dummy. The hammering at the window stopped, and Gerard oddly felt even more unsettled now that the sound was gone and the apartment was once again as quiet as a mouse. The shakiness of his panting breaths forced him to clamp his mouth shut, gnashing his teeth against one another like meshing metal cogs. He was in the dark of a place he should feel safe in, but did not at all. He shot the bolt and unhinged the golden chain on his front door. The sound of his bedroom window sliding up from its sill halted him from opening the door and running down the stairs to get help. He was tired of freezing, of being scared stiff, of being a cowardly little kitten hiding its face under its paws. He wasn't any of those things. He was a 20-year-old man. At the flip of the light switch near the door, the overhead fluorescence buzzed to bright white life. The kitchen connected the living room, the bathroom, and the bedroom. It was the center of all things in apartment 13. And its rightful owner, Gerard Kuntz, waltzed right into that center with a ferocious expression on his face. His hand found the butt of a very different kitchen knife when compared to the puny fiberware one he had grabbed previously. This was a butcher knife. This was Michael Myers' best friend. And it was now in the hands of a new, highly capable, and brave master. Gerard felt in complete control all of the sudden. He felt empowered, like it didn't matter that a ventriloquist dummy had somehow reached his 2-story high apartment window, opened it, and was now probably very, very upset about being thrown away. If Norman wanted to play, Gerard would play, and he would play to win. There was a hissing, biting voice like it came from the mouth of a snake somewhere in his bedroom. Titter, titter, Jerry boy. He ran through the doorway. Titter, titter. The clown pounced from the foot of Gerard's bed and sank its wooden jaws hard into his right cheek. Gerard screamed in pain and jerked, the thought of the butcher knife entirely absent from his mind as it slipped from his fingers in the midst of the struggle. You fucking butcher. You little cocksucker. I'll teach you to throw me in the trash. I'll teach you. I'll teach you. I'll show you. It felt like a cattle prod on fire and struck by lightning was being pressed into his face as he pulled the clown off of him, its wooden movable maw sinking harder and harder into the muscle as he pulled. He managed to throw it to the rug, with a roar of pained effort. The clown stood back up on its own, grabbed the butcher knife and stabbed it into the center of Gerard's foot before he could think to do anything else. The knife came up and down, entering and exiting new holes it made in Gerard's chest. Dark red blood soaked and set into his white undershirt. And in the curious case of Gerard Henri Kuntz, everything was eventual.
Well, that's eventual, Jared. Hope you guys enjoyed, and bye.